Good morning. On behalf of the eServices Payment Technology team, I'd like to welcome you to Lessons in EMS Leadership. My name is Gary Harbat, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. Joining me today is Bill Miller. Bill has had a long and storied career in EMS, and I lovingly refer to Bill as an educator's educator. He has done great things, both in the field, in healthcare, as well as educating folks along the way. He served as the Assistant Chief of the City of Pittsburgh for 15 years. He grew up in a rural area as well, Armstrong County, north of us here, but kind of re-engineered himself a number of years ago and became a physician's assistant, for which he devoted a majority of his time creating new presentations to improve the level of care that we deliver in the field. Bill, thanks for joining us today. We're glad to have you here.
Thanks
and
for
as
having me.
always, your smiling face is appreciated by many, so thank you.
Thank you.
So along the way, I'm sure you've learned many lessons
Yes.
from some great people.
Yes.
Some of them I got to meet a few weeks ago in May. From your family to your professional colleagues. And I'm sure that you have leadership lessons that you've talked to your colleagues about over the years. Is there a single leadership lesson that you like to communicate with your friends and colleagues?
There's a lot more things that you need to do than just one thing. So there's multitude of lessons that you need to learn to be a good leader. And we've only got 10 minutes, and so I'll just stop now. No, I won't stop. Stick to, you got into this probably because of patient care. So don't forget that that's your goal, or don't forget that that's what brought you into this, and that all your efforts are directed towards that, whether you're an actual field provider, whether you're in a leadership role trying to engage field providers or enable them to do that role, or whether you're educating them to be better field providers or on new material, et cetera. So kind of stick with the knitting. Don't forget what got you into this, and your goals to try and continue to make it better throughout your career, or through your life, or whatever along that line. So just keep your eye on the prize.
So another hypothetical question that I've asked other participants today. If we were all younger,
Okay.
and if you had your druthers,
I remember when. Yes. Go
yes,
ahead.
I remember when too, and you could do the job, would you stay where you were currently in your profession as a physician's assistant, or if all things lined up and the stars aligned, would you rather go back in those trucks?
That's a very easy question for me to answer. I was working in the emergency department one day, actually working with the director of the department, who I had known before I got hired there. And he said to me one day, he said, "Bill, so which do you like better, being a PA or being a paramedic?" And without thinking, I just opened my mouth and engaged, I opened my mouth without engaging my brain and started to say, "I'd rather be in the back of an ambulance than in front of your hospital." And I got probably 3/4 of the way through that when I realized I was talking to my boss, the director of the emergency department, telling him I'd rather be somewhere other than where I was right then and there. But the truth is that EMS is what got me interested in medicine, and that's still my first love. It got to a point where I couldn't do that in the back of an ambulance anymore for some political reasons, for health reasons, and so on and so forth, but I wasn't ready to give up medicine yet. And so I went the PA route to get back into doing patient care again. And I love it. And it was kind of like being a paramedic in many respects. You just weren't in an ambulance, or you were doing it someplace in an ambulance that didn't move, if you will. And there were a few other toys to play with and things along that line than what EMS offered. But if I had to choose the pathway, if I was standing at the Wyandotte Road and PA versus paramedic, I'd go down the paramedic pathway again.
So along the way, what kept you grounded? What kept your focus on EMS? I mean, other than loving the job, I get that.
Yeah.
But what was was there one single thing that kept you motivated and focused? Obviously, the easy answer to that is always, I want to do what's best for the patient.
Right.
I think that's an answer everybody can give. But is there something else that really drove you and kept you motivated to do good things, as you have done over the years?
To some degree, I don't have an answer for that. I just, I got some fulfillment in helping others, and there was some enjoyment, perhaps is the wrong term, but some enjoyment in doing that in the back of an ambulance, and my father passed away about 25 years ago now, and I remember that as being the worst day of my life. And so I kind of took that, maybe I kind of knew that before he passed, but since he passed, it's kind of like, what can I do to make that day when somebody else goes through it not quite so bad, not quite so horrible? And so that was my focus before then. I just didn't know it. And that's kind of been my focus since then. What can I do to make the worst day in your life a little better in some way, shape, or form? Whether that's doing the best at trying to save their life, or whether that's doing the best at trying to comfort you at that horrible moment. And what can I do to make the whole scenario, the whole giant scope of things better in the long run, and reducing death and mortality? Whether that's the 12-lead stuff that I passed on to paramedics, and we're certainly saving multitudes of lives every year with pre-hospital activation of cath labs and so forth. Or just educating others in general to try and avoid those horrible days for people.
Sure. So if push came to shove and you were placed in a corner and said, you have 10 seconds or less to tell me your proudest moment, is there any one thing that stuck out? And again, I recognize personally might be different than professionally.
Sure. There are a lot of them, but they all kind of roll into one thing. There are a lot of students I've had, or folks that I've mentored, that have gone on to some better success, or some different success, or some advanced level of success from what they had to start with. I've got paramedic students that went on to be physicians. I've got nurses that were students of mine that went on to be physicians, and so forth. Other paramedics went on to be physician assistants, et cetera, whatever it was along that line. And so seeing them advance their education level, or some way of that I motivated them to take this a step further, that's the fulfillment I get. The number one, though, that sticks out, and it's the exact same thing, it's just a particular individual. I still remember to this day the moment my daughter called me on the phone and said, "Dad, I want to go to EMT school." She's working now in an emergency department as a tech, kind of doing that paramedic thing, but in the emergency department. And she had always said, "I have no interest in medicine. I don't want to do any of that stuff." And I'd go visit her when she was at college. We'd go to lunch, and the first hour of the conversation was, "So what cool things have you seen in the ED lately, Dad?" And I kept saying, "I think you're interested. You're just not ready to admit it yet." And then, like I said, finally one day I got a phone call saying, "Hey, Dad, I want to go to EMT school. What can you do to get me in?" So that's my overall proudest of all of those people that advanced themselves.
That's a great moment. So we've got lots of young leaders out there today. We are in dwindling number.
Yes.
And they manage in different ways. Mm-hmm. They may be good care providers, mm-hmm. But they may not always be good managers. Mm-hmm. And when you look at these ambulance services, most of them still exist, or all of them, I would say, are probably operating $1 million plus budget, mm-hmm. between the crew, the vehicles, all the things that go into managing
right.
a small business.
Right.
And it's challenging.
Yes.
So if one of those young leaders came to you and said, "Bill, what can you offer me? What can you give me as a roadmap? What can guide me, not only today, but maybe down the road 3-5 years from now?"
I look at, we in our society we put a lot of onus on sports figures, and I look at some of the best coaches that we've had in sports. You think of people like Vince Lombardi or Chuck Noll in football and so forth, and what did they have over some of those other coaches that were around then. And if you look at them, they were teachers. They taught the players, not just, they know how to play football, but they taught them how to play football better. They taught them how to think of the game differently than everybody else did. And I think that's what they need to do. They need to be teachers as well, to teach their staff how to do this better, or how to do it as best as they possibly could. And whether that's the secretary answering the phone, or the medic in the street, or the financial person, or whatever, you need to teach them why. The financial guy may not understand why it's important to spend $40,000 for the latest edition, of a light pack, whatever number they're on. And when everybody buys into it, though, when they need to understand why this monitor is better than the one that they have now, or why we need this stretcher system versus the old Model 30 that you and I lifted a zillion times. They need to be a teacher to explain that, to teach that to all of those folks, so that you can get the best of the whole organization, not just that one individual piece, but you need the whole organization to succeed. And so I think they need to be a teacher. You're not just a manager. Your management style is up to you and how you pull that off, but you need to make sure they understand why they're there, or what they're doing, and the best way to do it to make it all a success.
Good answer. So you've done a lot in your career, and you've done a lot, even more importantly, for others, and help them grow. Nurses, physicians, of course, all facets of EMS. As you put your head on the pillow each night and you think about this industry, what makes you go to sleep a little slower than you used to?
It's the same thing that everybody else has said to this point in time. I look at the state of affairs for EMS right at the moment, and it doesn't make me go to sleep slower. It keeps me awake the whole night. We don't have enough staff for a lot of the services. We don't have the finances that services need to buy new equipment, or buy the appropriate equipment, or pay an adequate staff. There are so many different little things that add up to being big things, that the whole system is teetering and on the edge of rolling off the cliff. Society needs to think of EMS a little bit differently. When a guy across the street's house is on fire, we need to call the fire department, because I don't want it to spread to my house. When there's a murderer running loose in a neighborhood, the police need to come and catch him before he comes to my house and harms me and my family. But if the guy in the back alley has a heart attack, they're not contagious. I'm not going to have a heart attack tomorrow just because he did. And so I don't think EMS gets looked at the same way as police and fire. But they're just as valuable. We're all going to die someday, which means we all need a hospital or an ambulance or something in the end. We don't all need a fire truck. We don't all need a police car. I think that society in general has got the wrong attitude, and they need to modify that, or maybe we need to do a better job of teaching them that they need to modify their attitude and perception of things. I wonder, like everybody else has said, I'm getting to the point where I may need an ambulance sooner now than I did 20, 30, 50 years ago. And when I dial 911, will somebody show up? And when they do show up, is it going to be in 2 minutes or 42 minutes? And will there be 6 ambulances coming just to get enough of people there to man one truck, depending on what my needs are. So that's the stuff that keeps me awake.
So again, going off script a little bit, but you kind of brought it up. What can we do? What can we do today to grow our industry? That could probably take us the whole morning and afternoon to go through. I get it.
Somehow society's attitude has changed the way helping others. I don't see that today like I did whenever you and I were that age that got into this. It's not the noble thing to do. Police officers get spit at and unnecessarily in many cases. There's a lot of lack of respect, let alone the disrespect that goes with it. And I kind of see that across all of public safety. We're all evil in some way, shape, or form. We're there to help you, but we have to help you the way you want helped, if you will. And we need more caring and more loving attitude towards each other, I think that will get people invested or interested in coming into the profession. But we also need finances to make it worthwhile. You still need to feed your family. I can care a whole lot about you, but at the end of the day, I still got a wife and 2 kids and a dog to feed. So you need to make it worthwhile financially. So money doesn't solve everything, but money does solve some of those problems. It's a lot easier being having a happy life being rich than it is being poor. So we need to do some things financially to support those positions, and I think we need to somehow put something in the water that improves everybody's outlook on their neighbors and want a desire to help more than what they are now. This "it's all about me" attitude is not helping
No, it's not.
the world.
Well, listen, thanks for joining us today, Bill. And I will tell you, I'm proud to call you friend and colleague. But for those of you who don't know, you're one whale of a photographer as well, too. And for those that haven't seen Bill's work, hook up with his social media page, and I've got Bill's calendar actually in my family room. So he does some beautiful, beautiful work, and I think it's probably a great distraction, probably a little bit of a respite
Yes, it is.
for you along the way, and you do great work. But you've made great contributions to our industry, and I thank you. So thanks for taking time from your day.
Thank you for having me.
Sure.
Appreciate it.